Hi, welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of the Weekly Wave. It is good to be back. I am Matthew Lyons.
And I'm Aaron Johnson.
And our very special guest here today is the Superintendent of Abington Public Schools, Mr. Peter Schaefer. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. I appreciate it.
Of course, it's a premier tradition.
Kind of behind hockey plexiglass today for this one, but doing the best we can do, right?
Yeah, as you can see, we changed up our setup a little bit. We're rocking a new table, having our guest, Mr. Schaefer. You're not new to the show. You've been here every single season. I'm so happy to have you back. On this episode, we're talking about basically the whole setup to this crazy school year, being in a hybrid schedule, going to school during COVID, making sure kids are safe, all of that fun stuff. So Matt, do you want to do your inaugural question?
So I just wanted to know, in March when we all found out that we would have to quarantine, it was a very crazy time. And I know I personally had a lot of time to think things over, reflect a little bit. And I just wanted to know, did you and the school committee have the same experience, or did you have to immediately take action?
Well, back in March, I think all of us, at least most of us, thought we were going to be coming right back to school. We're going to wash down the building, and we're going to come back in a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. And then it just kept getting longer and longer. I remember a couple of times feeling like, well, I know this is coming. I know this shutdown is coming. And then the shutdown came, and I was still disappointed, even though I knew it was coming. And then, of course, we're going to come back full-time when we come back to school this year. Of course we are. There's no, the virus will be gone. Things will be back to normal. And then, pretty quickly in June, it was begin to make plans for us not to come back normally, or what would a normal come back to school with everybody look like. So we had to look at, are we going to do full in-person, are we going to do hybrid or remote, and then be ready for all three of those. And one of the problems that occurred over the summer is that the guidance kept changing. And so you would make headway on something, and then the guidance would get adjusted. And so it really wasn't till the middle of August that some of the final types of guidance and regulations came out. Because I was telling people, it's kind of like putting a 1,000-piece puzzle together without the picture on the box. But then the puzzle pieces keep changing too. You get 2 or 3 pieces of the puzzle together, and then the puzzle changed as you were assembling the puzzle. So no, I thought we were coming back, and I think I've probably gone through the same progression that everybody else has. It's kind of like, are you kidding me? No, are you kidding me? It just goes on and on and on. And I keep saying we're one day closer to it being over. I mean, we don't know when exactly it's going to be over, but I got to believe we're better than halfway through it. We got to be getting somewhere closer to an ending now of this whole pandemic. And, hopefully it'll be a long time. Let's get this one done with, and hopefully it'll be a long time before we have another one.
Yeah.
So. I can see the frustration in your face over those guides. But this summer in particular must have been so crazy for you. You had new faculty, you had new principal, new vice principal, obviously teacher opt-outs, and making a plan to put, 600, 700 kids safely into the school?
Yeah, so out of a population of, we have just over 2,000 kids in Abington.
Wow.
And 40% are here on green and 40% here on wave day, and between 15 and 20% are fully remote. And so safety is first, and then comes safety, and then comes safety, because this plan will all evaporate if and when enough people get sick that it's not safe to run this way. So, I mean, like everybody else, I think everybody wants things to get going, and everybody wants the economy, everybody wants people in school. It just seems to me the more we follow the rules, the more we'll be able to do those things, because fewer people will get sick. So, I can't say I like wearing a mask, but if it keeps people safe and we can keep coming to school, that's the most important thing. And I gotta say, the students in Abington are outstanding. I mean, they get it. They got off the buses, they got out of their cars, and they came with masks. And I mean, nothing's perfect. Not everybody's perfect with wearing the mask all the time. People have to be reminded. But for the most part, that was something at the beginning I thought would be absolutely bananas. I thought we'd be having kids, wearing masks as hats and, chin guards and, earrings, and it just hasn't been like that. The students have, they make me proud of how thoughtful they are and how they've been, washing their hands when asked and assigned seats. And I mean, it's a pain in the neck, but people are doing it, and it's making us, it makes this possible. Without that, we couldn't do this. We'd be shut down. People would get sick. We've had a couple of people who've tested positive, and I call it the school community. And they're fine. They're doing well, and I'm, we're probably going to get others. There are people in the community with it. But staying safe, wearing the masks, washing hands, maintaining distances, it's just the best way for us to stay in school as long as possible, as best as possible, and keep people safe. So I kind of went off on a tangent there, but.
No, that's good.
No, it was awesome.
So I just also want to say, the people that I work with too, I mean, nobody wanted to spend their whole summer in front of a computer trying to unravel all these new mysteries. That wasn't fun. But the payoff was at least we got about half the students in Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday. I'm just glad we're doing that. That's why that work was done. And we just want to stay at it as long as we can.
Yeah, and I got to commend you guys. In like 3 short months, for 3-4 schools, you've made it all so safe, all so great. And I don't know, it's just been awesome.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
So, I mean, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but Aaron and I, we had our trepidations. We were a little bit nervous to come back, but I think after that first day, 95% of our issues were resolved, and we felt much more comfortable. And I wanted to ask you, because you touched a little bit upon the assigned seats, and my mask keeps falling. I'm sorry. And the hand sanitizer and all these different rules. What was the hardest one to nail down? To say this is what we have to do. This is the only way.
So I think I'm gonna have to say all of them, because reading them on a piece of paper, and everybody's going to be 6 feet apart, and you can only get so many people in a room, and you can't do more than that. I mean, probably lunches and entrance and exit from the building. Now that you've got me thinking about it, I was going to say all of them, but now that I think more specifically, it's got to be and that's what stopped us really from being all in person. Because if we had everybody here, you'd basically spend the whole day at lunch. Yeah. And then we'd clean up after lunch, and then you'd stagger dismissal, and then you'd spend the rest it just didn't leave any time for anything else. Mask breaks at appropriate distances, lunches, those were challenging. Because you guys know, after people take off the mask at a mask break indoors, or they eat lunch indoors, all those surfaces have to be washed before someone else comes. And so, I mean, schools just weren't built to have everybody in during a pandemic. I mean, there's no such thing as that square footage to provide those distances and have everybody here. And we're not staffed that way. From the custodial staff to the nurses to the administrators to the teachers to the paraprofessionals, and I know I'm going to forget someone, but it was a group of people that really wanted to do everything we could to get students in buildings that I'm fortunate to work with in such a team. So school committee members who spent the summer on calls hour after hour. So it's just, the payoff is we're in a building.
Right.
So
we made it. And for my question, before school actually started, there was a couple of options. There was the hybrid schedule, there was fully remote, and there was, I believe, I don't know if fully in person was an option. What made you and the school committee choose the hybrid model?
So there's a lot of deliberation about that. And I think the desire to get everybody in person made a lot of people want to do full in person. The problem is that once you get into the reality of what that looks like, that you almost have to overcome that emotional piece. Come on, let's get everybody in, until you really get into the weeds and you figure out how almost impossible that is, just in terms of physically, square footage wise. Then you're left with fully remote or the hybrid, and it wasn't unanimously decided to go with the hybrid. And again, it took a lot of deliberation and a lot of, I think we had 3 public meetings and Q&As, and they went till late at night, and just because people care. In the end, I think hybrid was the final vote, because at least it got kids in somewhat. And there's still, you know, a lot of wisdom in the fully remote. People do have compromised immune systems. They are in harm's way, especially during a pandemic. And so, you know, certainly respect and want to support all of those people that would want to do this. I think the hybrid, because it was just as many people in person as possible, and yet still, you know, in school somewhat. I think that's what eked out in terms of winning the vote.
So you mentioned how important it is to have students in the actual building. Can you talk a little bit about how important it is, now that we're in school, how important it is for all the staff to keep students' social, emotional health as high as possible and make sure that everyone is calm and safe?
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, that first day, I think everyone was nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And the second day it felt a little bit better. And then, you know, as you're in, it gets better each day. There were so many unknowns and mysteries. But there's that human thing about being in the same room with people where you can interact that you can't, no offense to cable, I know you can't be in person, we're coming into your living rooms, but there's something about being in person that makes a difference in terms of, I think, communication and body language. And the exchange that takes place in a classroom, it's just better. You can read stress, you can read anxiety, you can more readily answer people's questions because it lends itself to more of a discussion. You know, let's talk about the fraction rather than being on a Zoom call on cable where it's hard to do. So just that interactive piece, I think, is helpful. Getting back into routine is emotionally, I think, healthy around schoolwork. And so you just can't do those things over a computer, you know?
Yeah, I strongly agree. That was actually one of our focal things about this podcast, was
Mm-hmm.
that we wanted to have a human interaction, a human guest, because you can't emulate this. I mean, obviously Zoom shows, they're good, they serve their purpose, but for us, we personally think this human interaction, this human questioning, and this inquiry is just, it gives a better experience for the audience and for us as well. So I can totally agree with you on that. And for my final question, I'm looking more into the future. So for our protocols here, are we playing it by ear? So if, I say, COVID cases go down or the COVID cases spike, will the protocols change, or are we confirmed to stay in this hybrid model for the rest of the year?
So if there's a increase in COVID cases and there's a spread that's through the schools, it would likely cause us to shut down. That depends on, you know, the number, and not just the number in the town of Abington, but those that are assigned to the schools. And I couldn't tell you what that number is because it really depends on the situation. I can tell you it's something that's tracked all the time. And I need to tell you, the health director and the public nurse in Abington are outstanding. I talk to Marty Golightly, the director of health, probably every day, and that includes weekends, just about different situations and different communications that are going out. So it's through that office we'll monitor numbers and see where we go. It's one of the three models because that's really all there is, all in person, hybrid, or fully remote. And until we reach a place where this pandemic, where it's safe to return to full in person, we're either going to be, hybrid or fully remote. And hopefully it's hybrid because that means people are safe, the numbers are down, people get to come to school. Again, the more wearing masks, the more washing hands, the more social distancing, the more staying home when you don't feel well helps all of those things, not only for the school community, but the community at large, for the entire population of Abington. So.
Thank you.
All right. Do you want to take these last final moments to turn to this camera here and give a little PSA to the members of the Abington community?
So my public service announcement is I just feel very fortunate that we are in person and that we pulled this off with the team that we did. So I was very grateful that we have this team, that we're able to bring this together. And I'm even more grateful, when the students arrive, because until you can see things working and in operation, you really don't, you wake up at 3 in the morning and you're trying to solve problems that you never solve at 3 o'clock in the morning about what things are going to look like and what things are going to be. And just the difference in Abington is the people. Just fortunate to be a part of this larger team working for everyone's good. So it's a message of appreciation, and let's keep doing this. So please wear your masks, please socially distance, please wash your hands. If you don't feel well, don't go to work and don't go to school.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you coming back year after year on the
Yeah.
show. And anything else you have to say?
This is the best part of my day. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it,
coming.
Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you for watching. Tune in next Wednesday for an all-new episode of The Weekly Wave.
And make sure to follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now Twitter at the Gazette.
Stay safe.
Goodbye, everyone.